Okay, guys, welcome to this nervous system masterclass. I'm going to be talking a little bit about why we take a root cause approach to nervous system regulation, why that's important, and also what that even looks like and what that means. We see a lot all over Instagram from different, individuals, influencers, coaches about some of these quick tips and like easy little moves. And we want to talk a little bit more about why we would need to go deeper, how we would do that, and what that kind of sets us up for in the future. So, just a little bit about me, right? My name is Kate. I'm a nervous system coach. And I think the biggest qualifier I have is how much I've been there. I hit a full dorsal vagal shutdown at the peak of my career, being more in like a corporate space. Had to take an 8-month emergency medical leave and went on this, what I call eat, pray, love nervous system regulation journey to try and understand what was going on with me. Why 2 days earlier I was out with friends, the life of the party, balancing everything, to 2 days later, not able to get out of bed. And so I do have a master's degree in health, and I specialize in women's health and behavior change around health programs. I really believe that you can have the best health program in the world, but you have to actually motivate people to do it, right? Especially if they're overwhelmed and dysregulated. And then I am also a certified nervous system regulation practitioner. So this masterclass and this discussion is really for you. If you feel like you're this ambitious, driven woman, you really excel in all these areas in your life, whether that's career, motherhood, your social skills, whatever it is in your goals, but you feel like you've hit this wall with kind of burnout and stress, and you feel a bit stuck in that state. If you know something is off with your health and the doctors still seem to treat it like nothing's wrong, you just need to stress less, as if that was easy, and you feel like you're not getting answers no matter how many protocols you do or tests you take. And if you're really used to being the type of person who gets shit done, but you've been experiencing all this fatigue and lack of motivation, and so you're having this disconnect between where you used to be, how you used to achieve your goals, and now feeling like, oh my God, I can't even get myself to return this Amazon package. And for anyone, right, who's interested in finding kind of holistic approaches to set themselves up well to excel in their careers, to excel in their lives with their families, with their partners, right, really feeling like you can enjoy and be fully connected to that present moment. And so we're going to talk through how nervous system regulation can help with all of this. I want to say this kind of outright here, that the goal is to move on. The reason we take a root cause approach is because we want to move on. That a lot of us will spend time identifying in healing. We are always healing. We're healing forever. And we become a bit stuck with this label, and it becomes something that we assume we have to be focused on and thinking about every single day, maybe having like a 3-hour morning routine just to feel fine enough to kind of get through our day, or feeling like that's really the only approach and therefore there is no time and it's not worth it to even explore ways to support ourselves at all. We're just gonna be like this and we just have to move through life like this. And what we know through science, right, not only my experience and my coaching with clients, but actually through science, is that we can move on and we can actually come out of that stuck nervous system state. We'll still experience stress. We'll still have moments where we feel off. But as our window of tolerance expands and as we have stronger neural pathways around the idea of safety in the present moment, we can move through that stress much more seamlessly. Our time to get back to a regulated state is much less. And stress doesn't come up as often, right? Because we're not so fazed by the conflict or the small things that are going on in our lives. So for me, I always say I wasn't willing to settle. I was not going to be married to a daily routine for the rest of my life. I wanted to heal and then move on back into my life and focus on other things. And that's really what a root cause approach can help you to do, and that we've seen help hundreds of women to do. So to kind of reiterate that, right, a root cause approach allows you to heal past the point of managing your symptoms. It's no longer something where you have this great routine, but you go on vacation, or, you have a stressful work week, or the kids need you extra that week, and the routine goes out the window. And so you just know you're going to feel terrible, right? It's no longer something where you have to think about it all the time, that you're spending your to-do list filled with, 5 minutes of breath work here, 10 minutes of somatics here, right? And we may use these approaches in the beginning to become familiar with them, but really the goal should be to go into deeper work so you don't really have to do this stuff again. You're already equipped, but really you've shifted on a subconscious and body-based level, and that way you're not really managing throughout your day. So things that we see when we go through a kind of root cause approach to nervous system regulation is that kind of in the before period, the beginning, we feel easily overwhelmed. We feel constantly fatigued, burnt out, like I want to take a nap, and at the same time, I'm so restless and need to be distracted that I'm scrolling social media, nonstop doom scrolling, and watching, binge watching movies at the same time. We also feel like we're doing all the right things. We're exercising, we're eating well, or maybe we were in the past and then it didn't work. So now we're like, okay, what's the point, right? But we've been doing all these things. We're obviously committed to our health and healing. It's not an issue of how much we want to feel better. It's that the approaches haven't been actually doing their job and working for us. And that can easily transition into self-blame. And I think the biggest thing here is that it's not your fault. It's that the approaches that were often recommended by practitioners outside of this space don't apply when the nervous system is stuck in a survival mode, or apply slightly differently. And then also just feeling like you're leaving success on the table. That feeling of, is this it? Like, is this life? Is this kind of the point of it? I'm never going to be able to, go much further than this. I can barely handle what I have as is. And nervous system regulation becomes this superpower. Feels like it adds more time into our day. It feels like we're able to set goals and actually achieve them. And we feel motivated and we feel excited to achieve those goals. So after nervous system regulation, right, you can expect to be pretty clear-headed, able to kind of quiet the mind when you want to, feel balanced, have high energy, and really be able to kind of take on whatever comes and handle it. You'll really know exactly what steps you need to take to regulate your nervous system on a daily basis, and eventually, as you go into deeper work, feeling like you can move off of a daily focus, right? So you feel powerful, you feel equipped with the information that you need, and you feel like you know how to handle what comes. And then getting to the root of that dysregulation really allows us to come into our true selves, our honest selves, not these selves that are acting out of fear, but that are acting out of expansion and what we want to do in the world and the impact that we want to have. So just a couple of women that I've worked with, a few testimonials here, kind of demonstrating how much this work can have a profound shift on anyone. And we'll talk a little bit how it's definitely not just people with trauma, it's really anyone. This is Edna. She's a school teacher, and she was really feeling like she couldn't just calm down and relax, that she was constantly overwhelmed. And even when she got home from work, she was just thinking about it and ruminating. And she says that before meeting Kate, I was always go, go, go. And I never really stopped to think about everything and how it was affecting my health. So Kate helped me to realize that all the things in my life were affecting me both physically and mentally. And now through nervous system regulation, she's been able to approach her life more intentionally, find calm more easily, and feel regulated even on a stressful day. So the bad days start to subside. The good days become the norm. And then there's Ellie, who is an attorney working 50 plus hour work weeks, right? Like that would stress anyone out. And so after living in that for long enough, she started to come into that functional freeze, having brain fog, feeling like she wasn't motivated, she couldn't focus. And so after just about a month of these tools and going deeper, right, she was able to get her energy levels back like tenfold. Her physical health issues that she had been struggling with, the symptoms of those started to subside, the flare-ups went away, and that she feels like she can approach life with balance, now and feels balance not only in her career, but in how she turns her career off at the end of the day and comes home to connect with her partner. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of the science of nervous system regulation and dysregulation so that we're all on the same page. Right? So when we're talking about nervous system dysregulation, we're talking about the autonomic nervous system. And this has two kind of arms that are responsible for our survival. There's the sympathetic nervous system, and this is often coined the kind of fight, flight, and freeze stages, and it's responsible for these. And then we have the parasympathetic system, and this is like our rest and digest and relax type of response. And so when we are healthy and when we're going well through the world, we're still going to experience stress. But as that sympathetic comes online, that parasympathetic comes to meet it so that we can come back to a regulated state after a stressful event within a reasonable window of time. So when we have nervous system dysregulation, we've been stuck in an imbalance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And so the sympathetic has been running on overdrive. We start to see everything as a threat. We start to feel like we're constantly in danger internally. And what's wild about this is that our conscious mind is often not aware that our subconscious feels unsafe. So you may have had the experience of like sitting on the couch and getting a panic attack out of nowhere, or feeling like you had such a good day, you slept well, and then you wake up and you're exhausted and your energy levels are off, right? So our body is signaling to us that something's going on here, something's out of balance, but we don't understand why or how always. And that's because the sympathetic starts to build up over time. We have something called allostatic load, and that's our cumulative burden of stress over time. And so when we keep piling and piling stress without releasing and processing it, then our allostatic load gets super high and our sympathetic gets stuck in that fight, flight, and eventually freeze state if we try and live in that high stress for so long. If you guys need any more information on this, I am always happy to send more videos that go more in depth about the different states of the nervous system. You can just DM me and let me know. And what's really key here is that we know that you don't have to identify with trauma in order to have a nervous system dysregulation experience and feel stuck in that state. This is because what's causing the dysregulation has a lot more to do with limiting beliefs that were formed when we were younger about the world, about ourselves. And these limiting beliefs can form from events that may not register as entirely traumatic. Someone yelled at you the wrong way, they're generally a good person, but it really stuck for whatever reason. And so now you feel like, to avoid being yelled at, I need to be better, I'm bad, I need to be perfect. Maybe you fell and bumped your head and it was just a really jolting experience as a kid. And so that's all data that your nervous system and subconscious mind and your body are taking in and helping you to hold on to make sure that you move through life accordingly and survive to the best of your ability. I always say that our minds and bodies are wired towards survival. They're not wired towards thriving. And so anything that your body and mind are doing, even if it feels like, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about this, I'm being so mean to myself, it's all built as a survival mechanism based off of past experiences that you had and ways that you learned you should move through the world. And so, of course, trauma can cause nervous system dysregulation because we're trying to figure out the logic of why something happened. But so can things that we may not even fully remember, that we didn't register as traumatic. And so the key here is that this work can benefit anyone. And it's the work that helps us get to our baseline of where we are in a healthy sense. And from there, then we can approach anything else that's coming up with our health. So if you're on Instagram or any type of social media app and you're thinking about nervous system regulation and the algorithm is like, great, I heard your thoughts, here's all this other stuff, right? You're gonna see a lot on cortisol. And so I wanna touch on it a little bit here, but I also wanna explain why cortisol is not the one and only piece and that it really fits under the umbrella of nervous system regulation work. So these kind of graphs show a conventional cortisol curve that's in the blue, and then it shows if we're in a high or if we're in a low. And when we're in a high, we might experience shooting awake at 3 or 4 in the morning. We might feel like we kind of crash towards the middle of the day. When we're in a low, we might sleep 10 hours and still wake up exhausted. We might feel really kind of numbed out and on autopilot throughout our day. But I think what's really key here is I'm seeing a lot of coaches go like just high, just low, right? But actually we really fluctuate between the two. And not until we go into a full shutdown do we often kind of flatline into this permanently low state. And so sometimes cortisol testing isn't always the most accurate to decide whether or not we need to approach this work for ourselves. So like I touched on a little bit, you can see some differences in a lower cortisol versus a high cortisol. And I just want to make very clear here that we're talking about a more consistent state of cortisol being low or high as opposed to just a couple hours throughout the day. Now, you may still see some of these symptoms come if you just spike in cortisol or if you drop, right? But overall, when we're talking about needing nervous system work, it's typically because these symptoms have come over time. We've really pushed things down or ignored them for a while. So now these symptoms are consistent and we do feel like we're living in a state as opposed to just a moment or a day or a couple hours of dysregulation. And so we'll experience this kind of roller coaster, right? Where maybe we're absolutely crushing it at work, even though we shot awake at 3 in the morning and couldn't fall back to sleep. We're really putting our all into it. We're not responding to our friends, but we're great at responding to our coworkers. But then we get home and we're completely depleted. The Netflix goes on, we're doom scrolling, our kid might come out to spend time with us and we feel like we can't even connect. We kind of start to shut down. We spend our weekends recouping, right? And so what we see is that there's often this kind of roller coaster style of cortisol imbalance and nervous system dysregulation. And so testing cortisol can be helpful if it supports your journey, but it can also get you kind of locked in one identity. Oh, I have high cortisol, therefore I need to do just this. Or I have low, therefore I need to do just this. And what we see with dysregulation is that actually we often need to move through different phases to successfully get to a place where our window of tolerance again is expanded and we feel like we're regulated throughout the highs and lows of our day. It's more of a balance. And so it's definitely an indication or one indication of nervous system dysregulation, but I cannot tell you how many women I work with who had perfectly normal cortisol tests, right? That it's going to shift over time. It's going to change. You might experience months in one and months in the other versus day to day. And so ultimately what I think is key here is that you make the decision based off of what you want to feel and how you're going to feel most safe. And if you feel like you need this work, it's not down to what somebody else tells you you do or don't need. It's down to, do you truly want to approach this, heal those past limiting beliefs, heal the past that keeps coming into the moment, and move forward as your most connected self? Or is that not the right approach for you? And you make that decision. So getting off the roller coaster needs to require a holistic approach. That diet, exercise, and supplements, these can be great complements. And these are things that I teach my clients to do through a nervous system lens. But that's what they are. They're complementary. Because if our mind is still living in the past, still feeling unsafe, doesn't matter how much we work out, how much we eat well, what supplements we take, then we're just masking symptoms. And in the same way, if we only feel good when we do some daily routine, some 5-10 minutes here, we're checking off our to-dos related to health, we're still just masking symptoms. Because the second that daily routine goes away, what happens? We fall back into these patterns. And so we haven't actually shifted from a deep root level, a neural pathway forming level, where we can actually truly move forward. So some common missteps that I see, right? Thinking you're not traumatized enough. We already spoke about this one. Doing daily practices without an end goal in mind, right? So I have clients do daily practices in the beginning with the intention to move off of them once they've gotten familiar with those tools, they're comfortable and feeling better in their bodies. And now we can go into much deeper work. And I'm going to talk about what that deeper work is in a second. Doing things like meditation or working out in high stress only because you saw them on Instagram or somewhere else, right? Often, meditation can make us feel further dysregulated because I can't think of anything worse than being stressed and trying to force my mind to clear, right? Working out when I'm already stressed can heighten my cortisol further, can make me feel really bad. So those are just a couple of examples. Only taking action when you're feeling stressed, not when you're feeling calm. And this actually starts to create an association between whatever tool you're using and the stress itself. So now there's this association where the tool is equated to stress, and we can actually induce stress through thinking about the tool. So doing these things when you're calm, when you're most regulated, so you get the most out of them and build up to help prevent the stress from coming in the first place. Only doing body-based work while ignoring subconscious-based work. This includes looking at your limiting beliefs, inner child work, parts work, and meeting yourself. So you need the whole kind of approach, right? Focusing on mind and body and bringing those two together. Fighting with your thoughts in your mind. So saying, I'm so stupid for thinking this, stop thinking this, that's crazy. Positive affirmations that you don't actually believe. So saying, no, I am worthy. I do love myself. And then like cringing a little bit and trying to beat it into your mind and trying to will good feelings. I work with a lot of clients who have been in brain retraining programs where there's like a step-by-step protocol when a certain thought comes up. And then they just catch themselves in their head thinking about the protocol over and over and trying to force themselves and then saying, I'm broken. I can't get it to work for myself. Biggest takeaway, you're not broken. Trying to do it all alone or self-paced because a lot comes up, right? So being able to interpret what's coming up for you and how you adjust going forward. I always say the tools and techniques will be similar, but how you incorporate them based on your specific needs is going to be different. You're going to need a different approach to your inner child work or a different approach to your parts work, or certain body-based positions are not going to work for your body even though someone else loves them. So it's really having some guidance on how do I adjust these things to suit what's coming up for me specifically. And thinking that you just need one approach to heal, right? I see a lot of nervous system coaches specializing in just somatics, just brain retraining, just neuroplasticity, just vagal toning, right? And you really need it all because chances are some of them just aren't going to land with you. And so if you're somebody who like loves the subconscious work and loves the somatics, but vagal toning is then you want to be able to have other approaches and, vice versa as well. So here's our approach. Let's talk a little bit about root cause healing, right? So I developed SOMNEURO alignment. And SOMNEURO alignment is a root cause approach that, again, we developed that combines advanced body-based movements and subconscious rewiring techniques with self-guided exploration. I know that's a lot, and it feels like, okay, what? I promise we'll get a little bit into it. So the reason it works so well is that it works by creating and strengthening neural pathways through both body and subconscious mind that hardwire safety into your present moment and present internal state so that your nervous system heals in a permanent way. And this is very different than going into the past and processing and working through every trigger and old memory, because we're never going to be able to work out our entire past. We're never going to be able to understand all the whys of what happened to us and then stay away from or desensitize to every trigger. So if we can instead convince our body and mind that we are safe in this moment, truly, deeply, then the past registers as the past and we can move forward. It's a much safer approach, much simpler approach, and let's get into it a little bit more. So in order for subconscious work to actually be subconscious, you need to get into what's known as an alpha or theta brainwave state. And this refers to a brainwave frequency that's reduced. So alpha, you can think of like when you first wake up or when you're trying to fall asleep and you're kind of half dream, half awake. If you've ever had a massage and you're like half asleep on the table, that kind of thing. And so often where I see, it not truly getting to the root is that we'll go in for a, visualization, a meditation, a hypnosis, and we're so overwhelmed, we're so stressed that we're just thinking about our to-do list the whole time. And so we've been told that we did subconscious work, but really we probably got into it for like the last 5 minutes of the actual verbal visualization, kind of like talked through piece, right? And so if we can't get into that alpha or theta state, and theta is just deeper, then how are we supposed to actually let this stuff sink into our subconscious? But we can't just relax and get into a cruisy state when we feel unsafe, when we're in survival mode, because there's no time to chill and relax. There's danger afoot. We have to be alert and on it. So how do we teach our body that we are safe, come into alpha, and then do subconscious work, right? So getting to alpha, just like we spoke about, when you're dysregulated or overwhelmed, thoughts start to loop in your mind. They cause anxiety. We just tell ourselves like, calm down. And we all know that that isn't enough. And we hate hearing that. So we actually need a tool that helps us get into a more subconscious state before using subconscious rewiring tools. This is where body-based work comes in. And you've heard of somatics and vagal toning probably off of Instagram, right? So we are not talking about just simple little exercises or like exercises here or there, or even some sequences that kind of move through different hip focuses and like arm focuses. No, we are talking about really deep facial maneuvering, and we're talking about somatics that are done incredibly slowly with intention and purpose towards creating safety. And these are the somatics that we teach our clients, that we do with them. I'm on the yoga mat, with you, to help them actually, often for one of the first times in years, clear their mind. Feel like their mind can turn off a little bit, that they're allowed to relax, right? That there's no self-blame, self-judgment. And I'll say the biggest, most important thing here is going at your own pace and knowing that you're the expert, that I can never be the one to say that you should be doing a movement. If you don't like something, you have to learn to toss it out, because every time you do something to your body that you don't want to do, but you feel like you have to or should, you're creating a distrust, right? So it's about rebuilding that connection with the body. Once we reach the alpha state is when we move into the subconscious practice, right? So getting into a kind of like dream-timey journey in that alpha or theta state and letting go of the need for the conscious mind to control the experience. So this is where a professional is really important, because if our subconscious mind is leading the show and our conscious mind doesn't always understand why something came up, what would have come up, what we're seeking, where we should be going with this, right? We can feel a bit lost, but it's also coming to an understanding that we don't always have to understand why to take the action, that things will come up in our subconscious that our conscious mind may not remember or fully understand, and that doesn't mean it isn't working. And so this secondary piece is really where I see it's important to make sure you have somebody who helps you understand what's come up for you so that you can move past it and through it. So some subconscious work that we integrate, we do inner child work, parts work, compassion and self-love work, limiting beliefs, gut hypnosis, and what we call dream time journey, which is coming into a more dreamy state and analyzing that. These are just a few that we use, and this is good information for you as you expand your knowledge of nervous system regulation, regardless, into other types of approaches that you can integrate beyond just what you might be seeing on Instagram. And so why? Because our conscious mind needs to kind of let go and be the kind of second up to our subconscious mind when we're talking about coming into a state of safety. If our subconscious mind believes that we're unsafe, it will always beat out our conscious mind. And we start to have conflict where we think we're safe, and at the same time we're panicking and we don't know why. In order for body-based practices to be effective in helping us to heal, we need that subconscious piece, and we need to marry them together with an understanding of where we're going and why. And also, when we combine this work in a much more powerful fashion, this is what allows us to move off of the daily routine, to actually be clearing and opening and releasing and letting go, as opposed to just kind of managing stress as it comes up, managing feelings, but actually truly coming into the body, meeting the body, and shifting our entire worldview about where we stand in the world, what's safe and what isn't. And what I love about this approach is it's much safer because we don't have to go and expose ourselves to triggers. I don't know if you've ever been in maybe talk therapy and you talk about your kind of like trauma speech and you share everything that you've been through and you leave feeling terrible because you've just kind of re-triggered yourself and talked about stressful stuff, right? We don't need to talk about trauma here. If it comes up, fine. But it's not something we guide you into. We're never like, go back to the past, go look at this memory. No, we're meeting ourselves and we're helping ourselves learn through gentle, loving practice that we're actually safe right now. And so it's okay to reduce these symptoms, to let go, and to come back to a space of feeling good again. So soma neuroalignment is truly this experience of mind and body and is truly a holistic practice. And if you're going to go about nervous system regulation, that holistic component is so essential, touching every area, right, of the subconscious and body to make sure that this stuff sticks and it truly approaches and lasts within the system. We really cannot heal without meeting the parts of ourselves that feel unsafe or uncomfortable. We have to come back to ourselves. If this was as easy as, a couple week course or doing, reading a PDF or taking a supplement, then I wouldn't exist, right? And I wouldn't have helped, the women that I have helped who weren't able to find answers before. So it's really not a quick fix. And I think that there's a level of needing to be pissed about that before you can accept it, right? You want to just start feeling better and you want it to happen now. Of course you do. I think before anyone can go into this deeper work, go into soma neuroalignment, there's a level of understanding like, okay, I have to really commit to this because I want to do this right. I want to do it this one time and then I want to get on with my life. Not spend years and years in and out of programs, in and out of different protocols and trials. At the end of the day, spending, tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on things that aren't working or aren't working for that long, maybe feeling better for a couple months. So I really believe if you're going to explore this work further, that it's something where you have to feel ready to understand and commit to a little bit longer of a process. In our program, we give our clients 6 months. Often it doesn't take anywhere near that long, but you're definitely looking at a couple months of getting into this work and going deeper. Here's how success looks, right? Because how do we really define success in something like this? It looks like being fully present for the joyful moments in your life. It's having good days be your norm instead of your outliers. It's being able to handle conflict that comes your way without panicking and also just feeling like there's less conflict because you aren't so overwhelmed. It's feeling safe and secure in yourself and not having to spend hours ruminating about the future or the past. You're just good right here. And it's having more time to accomplish your goals because all the time and energy spent on worrying has, gone away. It's subsided. And so just, another individual here, Jess, so near and dear to my heart, she works in emergency services and she really didn't want to do this work or trust me. I don't know how to say that the best, but she was really scared, basically. She was skeptical. And she actually at one point told me she wasn't going to move forward, then emailed me and was like, I got to do this. Let's go. And this is Jess's testimonial, right? She was dissociated. She was on autopilot. And she can honestly say, hand to heart, it's the best decision that she's made for her health working with us, right? That she's able to get off her sleeping tablets. She rarely has anxiety. When she does, she can re-regulate herself. And this woman works in emergency services, right? So she's more present with her children now. She's more present with her partner. And it's just incredible to see. And Sarah was a project manager at a large bank and really kind of had the classic symptoms that we've talked about here and was struggling so hard with phone addiction. And it was pulling her away from her daughter and spending moments, honestly, with her daughter and her partner. And she noticed that through the program, she feels lighter. She has more energy. She doesn't need caffeine anymore. She sleeps well every night. She stopped bloating and she noticed a difference in her mood and finally feels motivated to achieve her goals. I think this is such a good encapsulation of what comes with this work. So I'll just end it on this nice little quote, that investing yourself is the most important investment that you'll ever make in your life. We talk to a lot of women and most of them are scared. They don't think it's going to work. They think they're going to be the first person it doesn't work for, that they're not going to be successful and that they're going to spend a bunch of money and it's going to be for nothing, right? at the same time, there is a need to change if you want things to change. And as long as you trust in a process and you feel like it makes sense and it's resonating with you, then it's worth that investment to bank on yourself, because this is your life we're talking about. This isn't some side hustle, something that isn't that important to you. This is literally how you show up for yourself, for your family, for your partner, for your career, right? And so if you're going to approach nervous system regulation and you're really ready to do the thing, then taking that root cause approach is going to be invaluable. So that's all I have for you guys. You stuck with me for a while. If you guys have more questions, you can DM me at Aligned with Kate. I'll drop it in the link below. And happy to send more information or answer any questions as they come up.